get on my horse. Look at my horse is amazing. Give it a lick.
It tastes just like raisins.
Have a stroke of its mane, it turns into a plane, and then it turns back again when you tug on its winky.
That's dirty.
Do you think so? Well, I better not show you where the lemonade is made. Sweet lemonade, sweet lemonade, sweet lemonade, yeah, sweet lemonade. Get on my horse, I'll take you around the universe and all the other places too.
Think you'll find that the
Да, тот, который на нем уже
pretty
есть,
much
это
covers everything.
Shut up, woman, get on my horse. Look at my horse is amazing. Give it a lick.
It tastes just like raisins.
Have a stroke of its mane, it turns into a plane, and then it turns back again when you tug on its winky.
That's dirty.
Do you think so? Well, I better not show you where the lemonade is made. Sweet lemonade, sweet lemonade, sweet lemonade, yeah, sweet lemonade. Get on my horse, I'll take you around the universe and all the other places too.
Think you'll find that the universe pretty much covers everything.
Shut up, woman, get up my horse. Look at my horse is amazing. Give it a lick.
It tastes just like raisins.
Have a stroke of its mane, it turns into a plane, and then it turns back again when you tug on its winky.
That's dirty.
Do you think so? Well, I better not show you where the lemonade is made. Sweet lemonade, sweet lemonade, sweet lemonade, yeah, sweet lemonade. Get on my horse, I'll take you around the universe and all the other places too.
Think you'll find that the universe pretty much covers everything.
Shut up, woman, get up my horse. Look at my horse is amazing. Give it a lick.
It tastes just like raisins.
Have a stroke of its mane, it turns into a plane, and then it turns back again when you tug on its winky.
That's dirty.
Do you think so? Well, I better not show you where the lemonade is made. Sweet lemonade, sweet lemonade, sweet lemonade, yeah, sweet lemonade. Get on my horse, I'll take you round.
ребята пришли, и ну, мы тут сидим и все. Окей, если мы кого-то ждем. Я не знаю, если, ну, я не знаю, кто, не было регистрации, кого мы ждем, но мероприятие уже началось. Гостей особо нет, кроме нас, кроме участников. Давай, да. Примерно через 5 минут. we're ready and we're waiting for our this.
Oh, we're going to be streaming?
Oh?
We're going to do
Yeah,
stream
yeah.
today?
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Nice.
I don't know. What channel is it streaming?
But Space Channel, our YouTube.
On the YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have some stuff there already? Some videos?
A lot of stuff.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Just cooking movies.
Yeah, we start stream already. Don't make announce for our Telegram channel. We have no so many subscribers on our channel in YouTube. And main part of viewers come from our Telegram channel.
Oh, cool. Yeah, the Telegram channel has lots of people.
Yeah, in Russia Telegram is very popular.
Maybe Metro. Oh, I played this game.
Yeah, cool game. Just it's a first stream because we just make all this stuff for streaming, things set up, and we try to check it. And I play a random game on my laptop. And we make it a stream.
Cool. Is it St. Petersburg?
Yeah, yeah,
But in this game you can pick any city.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to you can play St. Petersburg in St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
And I try to in this game the stations come randomly, but you can connect it. And I try to connect it like in real map. And
Oh, you tried to recreate the.
yeah, real.
And what it wasn't efficient?
So efficient.
Was efficient? Because the goal of the game is to optimize the network.
I don't think so.
I thought it's
The
like to
goal of the
optimize.
game, no,
the
it's to
capacity.
move. Yeah, but like I think there's players here or something. And you have to move
Yeah.
them.
But then you get a score based on like the
How
way-
many people you?
How many people are stuck?
Yeah.
how many
Like,
people you
can't
trust.
get to their destination. But I wonder if it's like the same. You know, like in St. Petersburg, maybe everybody goes to the. Maybe not here, but in Moscow, like everyone goes to the center. So you need to optimize for people going to the center, but like not going from like this island to this island.
No.
Right.
In St. Petersburg, in this game, you can some measure types of stations like square, circle, triangle, but there are many weird symbol like a star or diamond. And St. Petersburg, all these strange symbols in the island. And this is a big problem because all people from all city need to island. And we have no such tunnels.
Леня.
Так, проверяем.
Sorry,
Играл?
to play.
Играл?
No worries.
Да.
Оля, привет.
Hi.
Wow. C-React.
Плюс-минус 5 окей. Ну, наверное, да.
Is
Сделал.
it Chaos Construction Trade?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 20...
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize it.
We were
We
there.
were there.
Yeah. Oh, we play Python, like coding
Yeah.
stuff.
You
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah.
Really?
It's awesome, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I was the
Space.
only one.
Hello Kitty. What is it?
I was the only one in this
In the-
category category
Yeah, yeah.
of competition.
Это первое место. First place.
It's place by default.
What?
First place by
First
default.
place by default, exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but that was the last time I was in St. Petersburg.
Mm.
So
Except this one.
except this one, yeah. The last time I was here was 2 years ago,
Yeah.
or 3 years ago, and only for 2 days for Chaos Construction.
Mm-hmm.
We were staying in Moscow, but then we just took the hacker bus.
Oh,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Yeah.
What about today? Coming to St. Petersburg?
Why?
How long?
We came beginning of September, and maybe I will stay for 1 more month.
Oh.
So 2 months
Okay.
or so.
Just
This
for-
time much longer.
Just for tourism or?
Just for travel. Me and Kirill have been traveling together for like 4 years now, just different places.
Wow.
But he's from Omsk.
Покажи мем тогда.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Where?
Omsk.
Omsk?
Yes.
Ты из Омска?
Yes.
Omsk.
Yes. From Omsk.
Мне сказали, что ты вроде из Омска.
Yes.
Да, я
I
тоже из
told you
Омска.
so.
You're also from Omsk?
Yeah. From Omsk.
Омская
We are near
strikes
Omska
again.
Street. Omska Street is like 2 minutes.
Самое
Yeah.
смешное, что он мне скинул контакт, чтобы сюда зайти.
Да, да.
Я открыл твой телеграм,
Да.
и там, короче, сообщение с 2018-го.
Чё?
Привет, а можно будет здание СС ночевать?
Как это называется?
We already say conversation about
Yeah,
this.
speaking To spend the night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So actually we've met already.
Я не помню, что мы
Ну,
встречались. Я
не,
вот
не,
помню.
ну,
We had Snake did a live coding.
Yeah, you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, on see, we met already. What about Номск?
О.
Ты давно уехала туда?
Ты же знаешь, не взял ее 10 назад.
10. Примерно как я.
Мы в этом году там были вместе.
Я был в прошлом году целый год.
Целый год.
Да. Я сидел весь карантин в Омске.
Нормально.
So,
В Омске неплохо, кстати.
А?
Карантин там неплохо, там прикольно.
Ну, так, нормально. У меня была машина, я объездил все места, которые раньше не мог посетить.
здесь
Ну да.
тут сидит.
Ну,
Окей.
закрыл лишь Теперь буду
Не ты
ехать.
сидишь?
Не уверен, что я.
Дали неплохо.
Нет.
Коля.
Там на улице.
Или может быть
Попросим.
Что?
В центре земли был?
Это озеро, которое...
Как оно называется?
Я думаю,
Нет. Ну, вообще я понял, о чем ты.
Вино тут?
Нет.
Нема.
Очень много знакомых у меня там было, но...
Here.
Окей. We already start the stream.
Okay, nice. And we're
We're starting.
We are live.
but why
But,
we are streaming the screen? but
Because
not-
it's a test. It's a
Ah,
test.
okay.
So
So we can point the camera here.
yeah. And
From there, somewhere.
This is the stream.
Нам нужна подставочка, которая беленькая.
I'm Andrew.
Sorry.
I'm Andrew.
Oh, hi.
We don't meet
Yeah.
everyone.
It's nice.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Что куда поставить? Она ставится же на пол, да? Это же большой этот самый штатив.
Да, большой.
Давай просто столы раздвинем, чтобы провод прокинуть.
Не
или
надо,
не
он
нужно?
поверху идет. Have to connect HDMI to your laptop. Okay. Wait a moment.
Подожди, а где сидеть? Здесь?
Yeah.
Где удобно?
Here.
Единственное, что надо сейчас немножко...
We will point the camera maybe from
Немножко
there to
светить
here,
HDMI.
and you will see the screen. Everybody will see a screen. So we are streaming. Is it okay for you? Oh,
Ouch.
hurts a little bit here.
Alright.
It's fine. I was sleeping not comfortably. So
Yeah, stream is okay.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll try not to be dirty.
You can say everything. It's not like official stream or something. It's just
I know, but
just for us and our people. They are very loyal.
I'm just awkward. You know?
Okay.
So I'm more awkward if I'm on stream.
Maybe it's
Oh,
even
yeah.
better. We can show you the first stream that was
I was
really
watching. We were watching the Metro.
Okay,
Playing
about
this
the
mentor
length
game.
of our cable. Okay.
So we have one camera.
Oh,
This
oh
one.
no, I push a button. Yeah.
No, it's locked. It's just locked.
Okay.
It's not turned off.
Do you have any sound source from your laptop?
Sound?
Do you need
Yeah.
sound here?
No.
No, okay.
We have a mic.
Yeah, we have a mic and that's it. Moment.
Видишь, гости приходят. Я говорил,
Да, окей. Хорошо. Так, окей.
Постоянно тут нажимал.
я вот тут сяду где-то.
It's your mic. Handled by...
You can put it just on the table, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But in front of you, it will be better. Strange mic, I never seen. We're recording you.
Try to say something, please.
Try to say something.
Прием. Как дела? Подожди, ну надо положить его на точку.
Может быть, here.
Может быть, его на стаканчик положим, чтобы он не валялся совсем.
Стаканчик.
Стаканчик.
Да. Ну или на какой-то предмет. Вот, да, коробку там, я не знаю.
Коробочку. Вот, может быть, вот это.
Да, давай.
Она же это нехорошо, она будет звенеть. Вот, смотри, вот на
У
слив.
нас есть лампа.
Давай. Да. Во, это будет отлично, всего. Она как раз на уровне лица будет.
Так,
А надо прикрутить скотчем?
сейчас, где у него выход? Мне кажется, ему хватит защелк.
хватит.
Вот на эту штуку можно нажать. Special device. Special clip.
О.
Нет, переверни, чтобы он вниз.
Чтобы вниз вот
так.
Да, да.
Мы можем ее развернуть саму, чтобы
Ну,
направить.
вот так. Мне кажется, так хорошо и под вес.
Nice.
Вот так по идее.
Enterprise Solutions. Is it fine? Snake, try to talk. 1, 2, 3, or something.
1, 2, 3. Привет.
Yeah, nice. Let's put a camera.
Так, мне нужно где-то здесь.
Ты подвинешься? Окей,
Так,
тогда
с
я...
камерой разберись.
То есть ее можно тащить?
Don't forget to talk in this.
Давай стол тогда раздвинем.
Чтобы...
Да.
Stop it.
Можем под столом пропустить.
Так я хочу столы раздвинуть, чтобы провод упал между ними.
Окей, да. О, вы как коллижен.
Shit. Maybe we will... Ну, так отцепи тогда HDMI, что имеется.
And again.
I think it's fine like this.
О,
Very full screen.
Yeah, that's nice. Как там быть? Или повыше поднять, чтобы меньше ног видно?
да, наверное, повыше. Подожди, я могу подрезать немножко изображение. Стой, не поднимай, не поднимай.
Ну да, я смотрел парочку докладов про
О, нет, подожди, обрезать, наверное, не с тобой.
А? Он день. Или он здесь, либо вот.
интересно для РФЦ. Прям очень прикольно подобрался.
We'll give that something.
Это кропное изображение. Как кропное изображение.
То есть мы сделаем типа scale, чтобы он был widescreen. Можно сделать оригинальное разрешение.
Yeah, where do you do it?
Don't change it.
Don't change it? Why, it'll break
If you
everything?
change to native, it's going to be like 300 or 600.
Ты можешь сесть на
You have to do everything.
А тебя неудобно рассмотреть?
I can only just full
Просто
screen.
очень много места вокруг с той стороны стола.
You can scale.
Тогда присаживайся.
А,
Да, я покачаю. Просто места скоро станут...
Мне кажется, вы можете сесть на тот стол
I don't
вдвоем.
know.
Лёнь,
It's
там
not,
же
I'm not logged
Вроде
in.
нет, не знаю,
давайте
если
сюда вот,
телефон.
чтобы единица...
How smart, they scaling.
Да, вот. Чтобы нам всем не болтаться здесь. Сейчас еще стульчик.
The only way is if I log in.
Вот
We
еще
have
есть.
time.
Вся спина.
Да, у меня какая-то любовь к этому.
А, окей, ну пока норм.
Should I? Wait, it's gonna take forever.
This is useless because I'm going to show Houdini. Look how it's going to look. It's going to be terrible.
Можем прикрыть.
It's okay.
You need to scale UI Houdini.
Сделай, чтобы оно было типа при открытии. Оно будет лайтово.
Да, лучше при открытии. Хотя бы не в том нужно, а
Там тоже
не в карманах открыть.
Вот так вот. Все, наверное. So if you're not okay about resolution, you can set native one, but it's slow anyway. It's like 800 by 600.
Yeah, and then you have to like do stuff with that resolution.
I think in the stream it will be fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's only for us.
I see. We're going to suffer. I made this a little bigger.
We can read actually.
Yeah, I made the UI a little bigger. Yeah.
Nice. So we can read.
Wait, open that project. Which one? Why is it Dream Demo 2? Why'd you...
Так, я тебе один стул или два? Тебя вот так стоит.
Все приходят, короче, садятся и уходят.
Я этот стул себе уберу.
Да, самое главное.
Я его уберу, вот
Where is it?
кто-то если захочет сесть. А сам если он сюда не помешает,
Нет.
Самое обычное дело. Так,
Yeah, barely readable.
Сделай пост в со стримом, да. Ну, или давай я
сделай себе открыто уже.
Да.
Let's see how... Let's see how...
А, и надо открыть.
Dream Demo looks.
Да, особенно если будет комментарий.
совсем буду
No, the other one.
другую штуку
М.
проворачивать еще.
Не поделиться.
It's going to scale.
Где-то гуляет по
Смотреть.
Давно не виделись. Да, сейчас. Я нужно техническую хуйню и...
Как тебе это шрифт? Видишь, как он изменяется?
Найс.
Даже такой эффект можно как бы сделать. See this effect?
Yeah. Ooh.
Worms 80. It's just 8.
It's slow.
We are sorry about our projector. Maybe we needed.
Why is it so slow?
Название просто, если есть у тебя устройство, то
It's an office projector, so it's not that good for graphics. It's
Возможно, можно разрешение поменять, как-то.
Не, не получится.
Супер ебано, по-моему.
Да.
очень непонятно. Потому что 1080 на 1000.
Так а почему не включить 800 на 600?
Когда там будет маленькая
Проектора, может быть,
А.
сделать
Окей.
ну,
Отдельный.
разрешение как-то.
Тогда надо делать не
Раз,
мирроринг.
Да,
Там сейчас мирроринг стоит.
ну или пострадать.
No, sometimes it's slow.
Yeah.
Like,
We have to suffer, or you can disable mirroring and set up it as separate display. It's one way to make this resolution better and not lose your resolution. So disable mirroring. But up to you. Do you need us to see here
No.
everything?
Yeah, it would be nice, but that's okay. It seems like it's you can manage it. Like you can read that.
Yeah,
No.
we can. Yeah, we see it. Yes.
Like for
Yeah,
example
it's okay.
here.
But yeah, we can see actually.
Just a little bit.
You
It's a
can
little bit
increase a little more.
complicated, but I can see. Do you can?
Okay.
It's fine.
For a little, but...
I mean, that's not the point. It's more like overview.
What
Yeah.
about
Okay.
live streaming?
We are online.
Super dark.
Да,
Oh, it's
А, ты
super
хочешь
good.
что-то поднять?
да, нет, я пытаюсь увидеть.
А на стриме это нормально выглядит сюда?
Вот я сейчас пытаюсь понять.
Как будто нет.
Нет, на стриме это тоже выглядит ужасно. Потому
Да?
что стрим привязан к разрешению проектора.
Тогда плохо.
What?
Да. Okay,
Stream is
we
also
have to change our resolution, otherwise on the stream.
Ну да, это как не прикольно, что если стрим так будет.
We can start maybe separate displays then. It's fine. It's like a technical preparation. It's like a sound check, but visual check.
Video
Yeah.
check.
Video check.
How does it look on here? It looks the same.
Yeah, in the stream it looks
Yeah.
the same because stream goes from the projector, I believe.
What?
А почему он завяз?
Потому что уже поток отдается на проектор, но проектор сообщает
То есть
проекции.
проектор, только я и говорю, да, то есть проектору два подключены.
Нет, он идет сначала в захват, потом в
Там же на проекторе есть типа
Нет, у проектора есть вход, мы просто перехватываем этот сигнал. И проектор отдает разрешение. Ну да, да,
Понял, да.
да. И типа с ноута уходит то разрешение, которое нужно проектору.
Ну вот оно вот такое.
Короче, литерали.
Окей, тогда нам надо настроить сейчас отдельный дисплей, проектор вынести на отдельный дисплей, и все, что вы захотите показывать в стрим, двигать окнами. Норм? Или плохо? Окей? Do you know how to set up a separate display?
Not on this computer.
Let's go to the control panel. Settings and stuff like screen. Yeah, display. Multiple displays, duplicate. Not duplicate, extend. So now your display is native
Ну, в принципе, мы
resolution.
это и сделаем.
Projector
О,
screen is also
I see
native.
good fonts.
Yeah, because keep changes, yes, and try. It's 4K. It's 4K. Super.
Окей. У нас там настройка дисплеев, типа, и показан первый проект, ну, первый монитор, и второй проект, и
То есть
там
они в
разница.
размере
Вот.
показаны. да.
I want to take a picture. Let me take a picture. Okay, so you
Bleeding
can,
edge.
How do
yeah,
I?
bleeding edge technology. So you can move any window to the right corner.
Так и что, теперь стрим нормально будет с первого экрана?
Let's try. Let me try this. So you take, for example, your browser. And Shit. Wow.
Ну я знал об этом, поэтому я...
Подожди, он не может?
Потому что
Почему
scale.
он так делает? Что
Это scale.
Можно
But then-
scale?
Зато смотри, как все очень четко видно.
Да. Cool picture.
Если на full screen его вернуть,
Разверни,
Я не могу его забрать больше.
F11 нажми на страничке.
F11?
Да.
А, чтобы он вернулся.
На полный экран, типа, нет.
Не работает.
Окей.
Кликни на белое.
в Винде же есть функция, которая
Не,
hide
не.
file, и можно просто тупо 200%
Стой.
поставить или 300.
Ну, если ты знаешь, как это сделать, я...
It's because of scaling. So your laptop has a scaling on the Windows side, yes?
Ну там на что-то заскейлен, да. 200%.
Can you disable please a little bit?
Так тогда мой основной монитор тоже будет так же.
It will be a little bit like this. Yes, scale.
О,
Yeah.
Так, ну так оно
Custom
на
scaling
мой...
for one display.
Лайв стримінг
Possible.
і, ну,
Нет,
Scaling
for
полностью.
So scaling for both
так
only.
і должно бути?
Да.
это
So
что не
please
так?
scale down.
Это
the
буквально то, что мы видим.
Let's see what
Погоди, нет, отдельно, кстати.
Сейчас
для
4
каждого
человека
дисплея.
пытаются с этим разобраться.
Let's try to
Смотри, я
downscale
могу
it like to
сделать.
50%. Let's try 50 for this display.
Подожди, оно что-то заочно.
You shouldn't change the settings unless you need it to. You can text
We
and
need
apps that allow all your display will set to custom scaling.
How many hackers need to connect laptop to проекту?
It's not allowing us to change scale.
Ну, он залочь почему-то.
Да, так как может быть...
Видишь? А, ну вот resolution можно поменять. Смотри, вот здесь можно выше поставить.
Попробуй.
Он, скорее всего...
Yeah, it's fine.
No,
Yeah, it's better. It's definitely better.
Подожди, а что случилось? Он упал, что ли?
Посмотри, нет, вот посмотри на экран
ну
проекта.
чуть лучше, да, но не то, не
It's better.
не супер
But
классно.
let's try
А может
maybe
быть, чуть-чуть поменьше?
a
Хочешь
little bit
разрешение?
less. Yes, maybe a little bit less. Like, yes, like this. Try this.
Может быть... ну,
Anyway, no. So
А
white
может
screen. No, reverse.
768 там какой-нибудь? Проектор выйдет буквально.
Yeah, something. 1360.
Типа вот
да,
это?
да, да, да.
Странно.
Ну, вообще нужен квадратный еще.
Ну, так нормально.
It's not bad.
М.
It's not bad.
Okay. What about the stream?
How to put things over there?
You drag it to the right. A window. You drag a window to the right.
Ну так смотри, вот это Houdini, что с ним стало.
Shit.
Браузер, возможно, и будет
Try
работать.
to scale down the
Блин.
display a little bit. And Houdini, you should to
Сейчас хотя бы
zoom
мне
out.
хорошо
Да,
было.
ты сказал, что ты увеличил
Короче, дело в том, что если браузер, он как-то
да,
рескейлится
да,
сам,
да, да,
видишь,
да.
он
И
рескейлится.
Houdini тоже сказал, что ты заскейлил.
А Houdini, он сам не понимает вот это вот.
Да, потому что он в Linux запущен.
Я ему могу... Не, он не в Linux,
А,
но
да?
я ему могу уменьшить
Да,
здесь
попробуй,
дисплей,
да.
но тогда мне придется на прожекторе работать на нем. То есть не здесь.
Попробуй.
Нет,
Попробуй.
оно будет работать, просто мне придется на прожекторе самому
А, ну
смотреть.
да, ну да. Ну да. К сожалению.
И здесь придется как бы наугад значение подбирать. Вот сейчас вот есть значение, видишь? он
Давай типа 0,5 для 1.
Ну да, так должны быть. Это новое.
75
Окей,
это самый
fine.
маленький.
А как сохранить тебе?
А у меня кнопка вот ушла. смотри.
А может быть, ты вроде после что нажать кнопку?
Ладно, так это просто на Qt написано.
Там, короче, можно сделать это.
Это на Qt просто написано.
Там можно через файл настроить.
А, типа конфиг?
Да.
Сори, надо было проверить, конечно, заранее, что-то мы зря не проверили. А здесь другое значение.
Да, здесь другое значение, слушай.
Ну давай, если там было 3, значит это фактор 4.
Думаю, может 50,
То есть 50.
больше 50.
Factor 4, I thought. There it was 3, here it's 120. UI scale and generating icons.
But then you have to use the mouse like.
Смотри, какой у него UI стал размер.
But let's go there. Wow, it's too much. Let's restart.
Слишком маленький.
But we can figure this
Подожди, а
out.
почему надо перечислить?
Окей, можем ли мы зафорсить все сожаление разрешения
Там
у
чуть-чуть.
проекта?
Давай, да, попробуй с этой стороны тоже.
How do you work though? I have to
No,
work
no, no,
in the way.
we will try.
That's
one
not
more time.
easy. It's easier to work on the screen.
Yeah.
But we will try one more time. Let's try 100 or maybe 120.
Ну, как бы, основная проблема, что это беспонтово работает на экране, как бы
На
окей.
том?
Да.
Ну да, я понимаю, но для демо не подойдет тоже. Давай попробуем подобрать. Кажется, можем попробовать подобрать.
I think we should just keep it as it was.
Изжимай settings.
О, подожди.
Because I
А
can't,
мне
I don't
где?
think it'll be easy to
Ниже.
А, о,
work
да.
on the projector.
The only thing is,
Видео, ревал,
It's much better, but it's much better now. Isn't it? Or it's harder for you to work there?
it's not you decide.
I feel like
Ну,
it's
в
harder
принципе,
to
да,
work
вот,
up
господи.
here. Is it not?
Is it possible or it's impossible?
Let me see.
But you can try a little scale up it a little bit more and it will be maybe more
Oh my God, what is
comfortable.
that?
And it will be more comfortable. Я думаю, не, выходи. Там сейчас уже ребята пробуют.
Ну,
Да.
просто ситуация вот эта с двумя экранами, на самом деле,
Да.
Невозможно.
Okay, we will prepare next time better.
I mean, we can try this. It might be.
Поменять проект?
Да.
Да, в принципе, все неплохо.
Не, можно просто
Сейчас даже к нам и разборчиво, в принципе, и в трансляции все через 3-4 раза.
You can
Ну, а
scale
сейчас
up.
трансляция нормальная? там
Да,
идет?
да, трансляция сейчас,
Я-
я все вижу.
Actually like this. Just
Вот
like
это
this.
фирма трансляция сейчас запущена.
Wait,
А.
Kiko, the keys don't work.
The keys.
Oh wait.
No, they
it's
work.
It's just
It was a
slow.
lag.
Can you open some Wrangler?
The trailer or something.
Try render.
Wrangler.
Ah.
Render. Well, at least this way I will have to be like conscious of what you guys are seeing.
Yeah. Just like a new-
Otherwise, I might not even be conscious.
Okay. We can scale it up like for
Yeah, it's going to be like that.
additional 10 maybe.
I'm like
10.
squinting.
Is it? Wait. Is it okay?
Yeah. You will need the screen.
Why?
Because all your app will open here.
What app?
Yeah, all apps will first open here. If you will open something, it will go on this screen first,
Unless
and you
I
have
click
to
here.
drag it to the right.
Unless I click here.
Может замерить экран и
Нет, тогда
решение
будет
брал.
Тоже вариант, да.
Трансляция выглядит лучше, чем на
Прожектор.
Здесь я могу прочитать нормально этот текст, там сейчас.
Мне кажется, надо нас уметь.
Да, согласен.
Здесь, да? А у тебя так, блин?
Кто-то мне подогнал, такой, ну.
Да.
Прям
Или разместить нас где-нибудь.
справа, слева будет. Слева будет. Чуть-чуть еще меньше надо сделать. Ну просто есть.
А Алмана есть?
Я думаю, что да, я
Пойдешь
Там прямо какая-то сетка.
Да?
So, we are up to go. We're good to go. We're ready to start.
I think so.
Yeah, finally. So, do you hear?
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
Which one? Okay, ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Ready. Okay, hi. I'm Sneha, and this is Kirill, and we want to show some of the 3D experiences on the web that we've been working on together. I don't know, should I give like an intro myself?
If
Go
you
go
want.
first.
Sure. Yeah. We've been. I started as a visual effects artist. I started with 3D, just doing architectural visualization, doing some stuff in 3ds Max, and then I liked effects a little bit. I decided I want to work in visual effects. Went to Moscow, found some job as visual effects, doing some advertisement in a small company. Then I decided I want to study that like 3D stuff a little more. So I moved to San Francisco and went to school there for visual effects and animation. And after that, I worked for a little bit in the industry, doing some visual effects for movies. But then I decided that this whole like corporate thing is like really like vibing with me, and then I just kind of quit my job and we started traveling. And this is about where I met Sneha, and we've been traveling for a couple of years and doing 3D graphics in more kind of artsy way for like non-commercial stuff. And we created this website called quartercat.tk where we post our work. And Sneha is very skilled in mathematics, shaders, and that kind of stuff. And she got really inspired by also 3D stuff and visuals, and we created this kind of fused experiences where we combine real-time graphics with more traditional visual effects assets and techniques. So, anything I missed?
No?
You can talk about yourself.
Sounds good. Or maybe we'll just start.
Yeah.
Yeah, so most of the things that we make are on the web, and there are like some reasons why we choose to do that versus like making games in like Unity or Unreal or something like that. So one of the main reasons is that it's easy to share. Like all of the experiences that we make are like in the browser, so we just have a link, versus like if you made a game, maybe it's you have to like share an APK or like share things in that yeah, it's just more involved most of the time. Or even like if you try to put something on like the Apple store, like I think you have to pay like $100 to even be like allowed to share something on
Per
that
year.
store per year. So it's kind of cool that the web is just it's free access for everyone. And there's a small community of 3D enthusiasts on the web, which I really like because there are lots of like little discourse channels and places where you can kind of like ask any questions that you want, or even start to like recognize faces and people that you like admire or are doing interesting work, which is cool. Open source tools. I really love 3JS. It's like a really awesome tool for making 3D graphics on the web, and because it's open source, like if you have any question, you can just like look at the code. Versus like in Unity, there's so many functions where like you just I don't know, like the coloring function in Unity, you just never know what it does because it's just this black box into Unity. But in 3JS, like any question you have, if someone won't answer it, you can just figure it out yourself, which is cool. Versatile applications. What do I mean by that? Oh yeah, this what I meant by versatile applications is that like we use the like websites for so many different things. Like maybe you have your portfolio on the web, or just like silly games or anything. So you can kind of, if you learn how to do 3D graphics on the web, you can kind of incorporate that into like the different parts of your internet
Just
experience.
learn about web in general, web tools.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, so fun way to learn about basics of web programming as well. You kind of get that as a bonus if you want it, or even if you don't want it. You will have to learn about like just like how to host a website, or like
And JavaScript
Yeah.
in general.
yeah.
It's useful.
And why not 3D graphics on the web? The tools are less developed compared to big engines, and yeah, that's like a pro and a con, because in 3JS, like if you want to make a particle system effect or something, there's no engine for it, so you would have to like code it yourself from scratch.
No, physics is painful.
Or physics, like there's no physics engine in 3JS, or if there are, they're like really not developed. So I sometimes think that that's a pro, because it means that you get to make it yourself, and you get to learn about like how the particle system would work.
Yeah, Snail loves to make collision with walls.
Yeah, yeah.
Crappy version
I've
of
like
physics.
I've made like really crappy versions of like many tools in Unity, but like it's a great way to learn, I think, and also you get to make it like very custom to whatever you're building, which is fun. But I also work in Unity, so for my work stuff, and it definitely feels nice to be able to just create things in one click sometimes. And experiences are limited by browser performance. There's a lot of visual effects that you just can't really do in browser. It'll just be too slow. Like lots of post-processing is difficult to do. But that's also, I feel like, a pro actually, because you get to maybe learn about how to optimize your code and how to make really optimized graphics, which is like an interesting field as well. So yeah. Do you have anything? Cool. So we thought we'd maybe just go do like some overview of some of the projects that we worked on in the browser, and then maybe do like a little demo in Houdini, which is another tool that we use a lot to like work to build the assets for our they're not really games. They're more just like weird experiences. So this is one that we made like last year. It's called Dying to Find. These are just some pictures of like the inspiration that we had for it. But basically, it was exploration of environment design and like this kind of weird post-apocalyptic world. Wait, I lost mine. Yeah, there were some just like visual concepts that we wanted to explore, and we did so here. Once this loads.
And this is made with A-frame, so it's VR, supports VR stuff.
You ran it with
Your Windows is trying to restart.
Yeah.
Remind me later.
Whoa.
you can press F11 and it will be full screen.
Yeah.
Ah. Yes. Cool. Yeah, so this was made with 3JS and A-frame.
I opened.
Oh, you opened it.
What?
Wow, it's a sphere. There
I
is
have
a
a question.
sphere.
What
Yeah.
are those structures? Are they like GLTF objects or something, or are they functions?
Yeah, so the buildings are all made in Houdini, so it's a GLTF asset. But they were made procedurally based on like the city layout of San Francisco. So Kirill used like some he took like the map data from that's open source on OpenStreetMaps, right?
Yeah.
Like the height data of San Francisco, and then used that to generate buildings. And then we just loaded that in 3JS.
I mean, Houdini has a tools script built in already, made by people who what's called Houdini Labs. Just few people who developed like different tools for Houdini, part of side effects itself. And they made this tool allows you to import this data with a whole bunch of attributes. I'll show you about attributes later. But basically nothing in the city actually placed by hand, pretty much. Everything is just based on some data.
Yeah, so it's a combination of like assets created in Houdini, and then most of the like moving things. Oops.
And this structure that you see in the sky, this is line generated in Houdini, but it's based on the magnetic field formula between two objects. So you have two objects in the field, and we build a curved path through that field based on the magnetic formula, basically.
Yeah, and then these little like packet things that are getting sent from one sphere to the other, they're supposed to represent like little characters being sent over the wire, and that's just like an effect in the shader. So yeah, I was saying it's like a combination of it's a combination of like assets made in Houdini and then some shader effects, like here it's like a little teleport sphere. As you get closer, it opens and then takes you away.
I
So now
like
you're flying in one of these packets.
Wow.
Oh, people.
Yeah, I really like this idea of like just whoa, like autonomous or non-autonomous agents. Like just people that are doing really mundane things every day, and they look the same, and yeah, they're just walking in this path.
Go to the spider.
Oh yeah, the spider. Where is the spider?
I love how the wires are shaking after the waves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw a tutorial online, one guy showing how to apply this formula in Houdini. I thought it's looking pretty cool. I just re-implemented it myself, and I just did some experiments, and it looks like really cool. We decided to put like over the city.
Do you know where the spider is?
Yeah, behind the sphere,
Behind which sphere?
on that side.
On
That was
this side?
correct, right, yes.
Okay. Here?
Keep going.
I like that in 3JS you can easily put fragment shader on three-dimensional objects as a
Yeah.
picture.
No,
Yeah.
don't turn. Keep going where you are going.
Are you sure it's this way?
Yes.
think it's here. Aha, you're right. I got it.
Yeah, and this is also super fast because it's deformation on the shader, on the wires, which is pretty efficient. But it wouldn't be possible without Houdini because you need some attribute on the geometry vertices to be able to drive this effect. In this case, it's the way UV is laid out on each line. Is basically for each line you have UV coordinates, if you know what UV is. Basically for each point they like map from like 0 to 1, so that allows Sneha on her shader like sort of understand where like she on the curve is and displays this vertices over time.
Can you please expand how these animations work? Is this a part of GLTF or is this some?
This animation?
Yes.
This is
Of the spider?
No, I'm interested in these lines.
In the wires.
These,
Yeah, so basically,
plots.
it's an animation, a vertex animation in the shader. So there's this line that goes from like one end to the other, and let's say you just labeled all the points here 0 and along the line go to 1. So like from 0 to 1 on the line.
Yeah. But the line itself is GLTF also?
Yeah, the line is just a GLTF with this attribute that tells me that like the position along the line,
Is there
basically.
a source code of this example?
Yeah,
yeah, it's on GitHub.
yeah,
you can
it's on
actually
it's
look
on
at it.
GitHub. You want?
You just search for QuarterCAD, QuarterCAD GitHub, and then there'll be a project called Line to Find.
I-
QuarterCAD
yeah.
GitHub, yeah.
Yeah, and then basically if like
And they're all assets. in
wait,
there.
it might not be.
No, it may be a
I think
organization.
it's Kodakat Club.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
QuarterCAD.
Club? Club.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's called Dying to Find.
Is it there?
Oh, it might not be there.
Yes.
Oh, there it is.
Dying
Sorry.
to Find, yeah?
Mhm.
Oh, you have 9 pull requests.
Oh.
Do we?
Yeah. Oh,
No,
bump.
these are.
What is it? It's a bounce from the bot.
Nah.
Yeah. Oh.
And the spider is animated
The
also
source
Oh,
file
yeah.
to the gate.
by attributes in GLTF.
What's up? No, so the spider is basically just like it's
Go
a
to the
set.
gate.
Oh my god, did it get stuck? Oh no! Let me run away.
The spider is pretty cool because it's fully procedural. There's no geometry pre-generated.
Yeah,
It's
this
generated on the fly.
yeah. So the spider is not a GLTF, but I think it just got stuck.
So it's generated every run. On
Yeah.
every run, it's regenerated in
Regenerated.
a different way.
Yeah, but I think it just
I
got
think it
stuck.
fell into
I
the
think it fell into the hole.
Oh.
I don't
Yeah,
think
there is a hole.
I don't think I've ever taken it into the hole. Edge case.
Yes.
It's supposed to follow you, but I think it got stuck. Oh no, it's back. Here it is.
Just go to the gate
Wait, I want to look at it. Where's the
because it'll take a while for him to walk to the gate.
Okay, yeah, where's the gate? Can you direct me to the gate? Oh, it's here.
Yeah.
Just one spider, yeah.
So he's like a pet.
He's like a pet, yeah. But basically, it's generated using just lines. It'll follow me eventually.
Okay, I found this power wire
Oh.
from shader.
Yeah.
And this strange spectral Zirconi function. What is that?
Spectral Zirconi
Yeah.
hollow wire frag. Wait, this is the wrong one. This is
just open it here.
what?
What?
Yeah, let me. I can open it.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
open it
there's
here.
Okay.
That is visible.
You
Wait,
have to
should I
press
finish the
escape.
spider
You
thing?
have to press escape to exit the full screen.
F11. F11.
Oh.
Escape or F11? Okay. Yes. OG not such.
I do not see.
11 you know. Нет.
Okay, let's see.
Вот,
So
ну, что-то вот так вот.
this
Нет,
was-
как там была? Какая-то кнопка, чтобы прям вообще открылась в VS Code.
VS Code.
Да, да.
По кнопке.
Точка? Нет.
It might
Нет.
На английском.
be this one.
Я на английском. Shift точка, может, нет?
Можно github.com поменять на github.dev, по-моему, или что-то такое. Короче, с углом.
Господи. Я помню, что я прям нажимал кнопку и...
Can I scale?
Yeah, scale it a little bit.
What is it?
Just
considered?
one. Yeah. It's fine. Like
Не,
this.
ладно, сейчас.
It's okay. Now it's okay. So you asked for the.
Yeah, окей.
Yeah.
Magnetic.
That's
Magnetic.
for the magnetic line.
This is
Oh,
the
good one,
okay.
okay.
So yeah, this is the frag. It's the
Fragments? What's the name of this file?
magnetic field
yeah,
merge.
where? Yeah, okay, it's
So it's animation in JLSL.
Right.
Yeah.
But I am actually not sure that this is the one because it doesn't have this attribute that I'm looking. Oh, it is the UV. It's baked into the UV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, this is all the code for the
Oh,
vertex
shock
animation.
frequency is how frequently.
Yeah. So those are things.
Wow.
Those are things that are just set once. It's like just parameters for
Yeah.
for the
Come
shader.
from JavaScript.
And so I think I'm calculating some noise
Okay.
based on the UV position.
Mhm.
Oh, and the UV.x and UV.y, this is like the position along the line.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
At
each
the-
line has like what,
Al-
like
along
height,
along the
and then
full
each
wire.
line just
Along
like
the
this.
full wire. So there's like
Yeah, like-
like 100 wires there, right? So each one has 0 to 1,
Yeah.
like from where the beginning and the end,
With different y value.
with different y values. Yeah, and it's hard to explain shader code always.
Yeah.
But basically, it's just calculating like how close is it to my current time, or how close is it to the position along the line that I want to be bulged, basically. And then it does over here. It
Oh.
does like it calculates a new position, which is all of these things
Well, the
times
most important normal.
times the normal. So
Yeah.
it like expands it out on the normals of the wire. That's why it's like a bulge.
Normals calculated here or it's
Normals are from the
Yeah.
geometry.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's pretty standard for like geometry to have normals. So that's how you like calculate what the lighting looks like and
Mhm.
stuff. So the normal is baked into the geometry as well as the UVs.
Mhm.
And the rest is just like some. It's there. I mean, it's a lot of. It's kind of shader jarble. I feel like it's easy to show shader stuff. Maybe if I like comment out like line by line
Yeah.
and then like show how it's affecting it. But it's kind of hard to like describe this math.
Yeah.
But basically, it's just like lots of noise and
Yeah.
fading out parameters.
Sinus and cosinus. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there sines and cosines? This
No,
one actually doesn't
not,
have.
Not in this example, but.
This one is mostly using C noise, which is curl noise.
Cool.
Curl noise. It's like really pretty.
He just using curl to
Yeah.
education.
H noise. Yeah.
Oh.
HTTP noise.
Yeah.
To fetch the noise. No. Okay.
We get
We get noise.
noise.
SSH noise. Bash noise.
Alright, so there's like one game element in this entire thing. You have to bring the spider to this little I don't know what it's called, pedestal, and it plants
Kinda.
the egg. Which opens
Oh.
this gate.
He's like, I'm done here.
I'm done,
That's
yeah.
actually a money girl to the gate. He just like.
Wow, I like the shape.
Yeah, this is a cool shape. This one is the animation in, I think this is a GLTF animation.
Yeah, that's
right?
GLTF animation.
Yeah. So not
It's
not
also done at
shader.
Houdini.
Yeah. And then save file opens.
I think I was there.
You did. Now have a shader.
Now have a what?
A shader.
Have a shader, exactly. Yeah, that's the price.
It looks because you can look in VR. This looks pretty cool in VR.
Oh,
because it's
yeah.
around. So.
But yeah, basically it was supposed to be like fabric of the universe kind of thing, because that whole other place is generated with is just like these black and white lines everywhere. So this is like maybe the disentangled version, and this is also in the shader, but it's like a compute shader for lines that are generated procedurally, and then.
How does computer work in that?
So it uses textures to like store the position, and I think this is just storing position values. So there's one shader that writes to a position, a texture storing position values, and then there's another shader that just reads the texture and writes and uses the
So
position.
uses some screen buffer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think this is kind of complicated, right?
Yeah, it's a little complicated. I tried to like make a diagram to explain it once, and I stopped because it was too complicated. It required too many diagrams.
How did you create them? Did you create computer in Unity or something and then export it to the web?
No, it's all in 3JS. I can show the code for that too.
Yeah,
But
I'm very interested in computer traders, but I'm yet to see computer traders on the web, so it would be nice if you expand on that a little bit.
Sure. Let's see. So I think that's this line compute frag and line compute vert. They're not like exactly compute shaders. They just like, it's like a hack to a compute shader.
Yeah.
So like instead of, you basically render a plane, like just like a 3JS plane, you render that to a separate buffer as a hack to like computing each value for this plane, basically. Like each fragment value of a plane, you just use that, you use this plane as a buffer, and then compute values like from that plane. So it's just kind of like, what it really is just like an extra render pass, just on a plane. But let's see.
This is the good thing about A-Frame, that it allows you to organize your project in such a way where per component, because it uses ECS, it's called Entity Component System. It's a way to organize your code where you can have a car, and the car can have component of like movable or like a paint or honking.
Yeah, so basically to do the computation, I make like a bunch of new, wait, let's see, I can make this bigger. I make like a separate renderer, a separate scene, separate camera, and the scene basically only will consist of one plane. And that plane is what's going to write, it writes the plane to the screen, and that screen gets saved as a render texture. Let's see where. Yeah, so you set the render target to this position buffer target, and this is actually just like a texture. So instead of writing to the screen, it writes to this texture. And then my other normal shader can just like read from this texture.
Cool.
Yeah.
You just
interesting fact.
So here it renders the compute pause scene, which is just the plane that I was talking about. Compute pause camera, which is just a camera right in front of the plane.
Virtual camera.
Yeah, like it's a orthographic.
Which is how compute shader works anyway, right? It's just like annoying that
Yeah,
you
but
need to create the scene.
this is just a hack.
Yeah.
It's kind of like hacky. It's not like the Unity. Like Unity has like a nice setup and system for it. But here you have to. Yeah. And then I set this like position data text.
But it's not true compute shader.
Because you're writing to the plane, you're not writing to the screen.
Right. I'm writing to a plane, which is then converted to this like
To the
position.
scene, to the... Go on.
I'm writing to like, well, I'm rendering a plane,
Yeah.
which instead of writing on the screen is writing to a buffer. And that buffer I can convert to a texture, which I then use in a normal shader to just read the position value from it. Does that make-
Yeah. We used something like this with Andrei when we are coding shader editor in Three.js. We used this just for byte buffer, I think.
For what?
For back buffer.
Yeah.
You can
So it's a texture that stores previous
Yeah.
frame.
So it's previous frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then there's a bunch of stuff here. But there's actually a really good like example on Three.js that shows a similar way to do it. I think it's the same.
GPU birds.
Yeah, so this is like it's No. Anyways, this is using kind of a similar technique because it does like the flocking algorithm, but flocking is kind of expensive if you want to do it on CPU, so it does the whole calculation using a position buffer, basically. So one shader like calculates the position, and also it's kind of nice because you also can know neighboring positions, because you have the whole texture.
Yeah.
Whereas like in any other shader, you never know like any other positions of your objects. So this is kind of cool because you can do computation based on neighboring, like the neighboring words that are around you.
You can increase the amount though. I guess because they use
You can
Texture.
increase the amount.
because they don't want to resize the texture, the buffer,
Exactly.
don't want to crush the GPU.
Yeah.
I try to design a particle system in WebJS and Three.js, for example, and I get texture with position, particle, some parameters of each object, but I have trouble with render, like a picture, and the neighboring problem. I have no solution for this. It's too difficult for me, and it's interesting how it's solved in this example. Okay. It's GPU dots.
Yeah. WebGL, GP. Yeah, and then there's like really typical Three.js code. What happened?
I found it.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to watch a code like this.
To watch code like this? Yeah.
It's
It's
great.
very typical of Three.js. They all of their examples are just like one file disasters.
So
This is
simple.
even worse.
It's
But this is even worse, like even the shader is like in the same file. It's like it's
I
really
think that it's not minified.
How can I go to
the
source
code?
code? Yeah, to the code.
there should be a little triangle.
Little triangle. Controls? No.
No, I saw
What?
it.
How how it looks in
You're in a full screen
It's
example.
yeah.
You have to go to the page.
No.
No.
Oh.
Page of example. Open the page.
Oh, where is the triangle?
If you go to 3JS,
Yeah.
that works.
Just open the page source.
Yeah.
You'll have a link.
Examples.
Or do
slash-
that, yeah. Maybe it's the faster. If you open the inspector,
You opened the example itself, not
Yeah.
example page on 3D.
Yeah.
You can change an address. Look at that.
Yeah, okay.
Examples. Parameter.
Examples. Okay, examples.
Okay. There. In the search. It's better to use search. There is a lot.
but yeah, this is one thing I love.
okay.
I love
Search.
Search.
There.
It's one thing I love about 3JS is that you can like there's so many examples here.
Oh.
And if you have any questions about the example, you just like go to the source code. And that's how I learned about how to do this compute buffer stuff was just like reading this source code, which is like I don't know, I like this way of learning. I'm just like reading people's code. Okay. Where this one is so dark.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to show.
You can show anyway.
Yeah. This is another project that we did. It's
Oh.
super dark.
It's
I
better
feel
to look
like
on your
we-
computer. It's called Green Demon.
Yeah.
You
You
can
should.
turn the lights off, maybe.
But I hope it's better visible on the stream or something like that.
Yeah, look on the stream. It looks good.
Whoa.
Maybe you can just look up here.
Okay, I can make full screen.
Can you? Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that looks much better.
Looks very rich in graphics.
Yeah, so this was like another project that we did that was inspired by like a real. Actually, I can show this first. It's inspired by this house, which we were living on the desert like last year for a couple months, and this was just like an installation that was there, and we decided to kind of like take it to virtual and see like what we want to create with this as
So
inspiration.
that's the house you were living in.
No.
It's a house created by an artist.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was living in that place and she made this house and called it Dream Demon, and it's like has all this like writing on the walls and little installation. She just made it, and it's like a representation of her soul or something like that. It's really cool place.
It was a really cool space to be in physically because you felt really creeped out, like there's some
Yeah.
spirits and stuff.
You created all of this stuff
Yeah.
by hand?
Yeah, so this was like a different, like the last thing that you saw was like all black and white, like no textures or anything, and this was our kind of experiment of doing something that looked a little bit more realistic and like with some textures, which is kind of complicated to do on the web because there's not like as much computation, and doing things that look realistic like require just a lot more.
And it started with me modeling this chair, and then I experimented with this software called Substance Painter. Allows you to paint textures with what's called PBR shading, physically based shading, which usually use like reflectivity model where you have diffuse and specularity maps.
Yeah, so we tried to make it realistic, but then I like making shaders, so I destroyed it.
It is just how it was in real life.
It's just exactly.
And this is on scroll, so you can kind of scroll. It's like a website. Right?
She was living there, I think. We just didn't see her, but I'm pretty sure she was there this time. But yeah.
This one, this is not VR, and it's probably not going to run on every computer smoothly.
Yeah.
So my computer has a graphic card. Like if you try on your computer, I'm pretty sure it's not going to work.
But yeah, we wanted
but it will work on PC VR.
No, if you work on any PC with graphic card, yeah.
But it
I
just,
mean, on
you
like
can't have
on
it
Mac,
on
maybe a
that.
little lag, yeah,
On
slow.
mobile VR, it's not possible. On mobile.
No, it's tied to scroll. So like
Ah.
I'm scrolling, and if there's just one track, you can only go forward. Which was different than the other one. The other one is like open world, you can move around anywhere.
But this is all GLTF stuff, with texture, GLB mostly, where texture is packed inside. But we have to do a lot of texture compression with what's called KTX2 compression, which is a compression for a GPU. Because otherwise what would happen if you store your texture in JPEG, because every object has at least 2 or 3 textures to make it like look realistic. So if you store them in JPEG, you have like small files on disk of 200 kilobytes. But in reality, when this texture get expanded on the GPU, it end up being like number of pixel multiplied by number of pixel.
Wow.
So, for example, average texture, 2K texture will be like 20 megabytes in GPU memory. And we had a problem where we like open and it just crashed. And I was like, why is it crashing? And so it turns out that because of this expanded texture in the GPU memory, so we have to use GPU compression, which is kind of very new on web, implemented by a guy named, what's his face? Don McCarty.
It's a native compression, the compression on.
I guess it's a compression algorithm used in games, like offline, like not the web games, for a while, and they used all kinds of GPU compression algorithms there. But on the web, it's a little bit of a novelty. So, but there is a way to do it, and we use GLTF with that type of compression. We use a command line tool that allows us to take GLTF, pipe it through the tool, and output that same GLTF, but with textures compressed by KTX2 compression.
As far as I know, it's intermediate format anyway, because like you have DX12, that's a different compression, and you have metal, and you have like different API for graphics. Anyway, it's compressed, but it's decompressed to appropriate format on the fly. So KTX not like GPU one-to-one. It's intermediate format.
So it will get converted to something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's very fast. It's like and
That's a pipeline.
and computational. Yeah.
Yeah, but in our test, the main thing was that you don't get this huge memory footprint as you get with PNG or JPEG textures. So you get about, I think 10 times or 5 times less memory on the GPU usage with that. This is a big deal for this one. And of course, all shader stuff.
What about geometry? It's doing by hand or some Blender maybe?
This one was modeled by hand because it's not hard to do procedural. It was modeled partially in Blender and partially in Houdini.
Yeah, okay.
Not everything is by hand though. This wire structure, this is procedural.
That was made
In-
simulation in Houdini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
It's a simulation of like tangled wires of pyramid.
Yeah, I
that
kind
are
of like to
constrained by
experiment.
some
I kind of like experiment with pipeline stuff, and I always like changing like pipelines and tools. And this project, what's interesting about it, that first I think instead of making an A-frame, I wrote our own ECS little system that allows us to organize the project in a structured way without using A-frame, and also using TypeScript in the same way because you can use A-frame, and that ended up being kind of interesting. And the second thing is like usually we export our project straight from Houdini. This project was actually assembled in Blender because Blender has GLTF exporter that allows you to export animation kind of like in a good way, and Houdini doesn't support GLTF and animation for export. So yeah, we have this like animation track for camera and some other like she's animated as well. Yeah, so everything was assembled in Blender even though some assets were feeding from Houdini, which was quite fun. But then I end up with a single GLTF file that I can basically drop in, and then I realized that single GLTF file is not ideal because of that KTX stuff. Every time I modify something in Blender, I have this giant file and I have to recompute all the textures.
No.
So I separate the scene to a couple different files, like for walls, like chair, like box.
So GLTF allows you to store the whole scene in one file.
GLB explicitly.
GLB.
Yeah, it's just a binary version of GLTF,
Yeah,
including textures,
including textures, yes.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's,
But not always the best for pipeline purposes.
yeah, I understand, but it's just interesting that you can.
Yeah, and you can unpack, and I think you can repack. There's a tool called GLTF Transform, also made by McCarty. John McCarty.
Okay.
Don McCarty. Yeah. Also a very useful tool.
Paul
Paul McCarty.
I also was doing stuff like something like that. I discovered you can have export from Blender, but not in binary, but instead of description in JSON and meshes in binary, and basically you don't need change everything. Like you have your scenes and meshes textures already, and you re-export, and only by replacing changed files you can like update you. Like it's
Also GLTF, you mean?
yes.
Yeah. But the one is not GLB, GLTF, that where textures are separate. Correct? You have your texture is separate, and you have JSON description, which is GLTF.
Yeah, there's a JSON with describing
Yeah,
with
yeah.
like where you have meshes
Mhm.
as binary files and textures
Mhm.
as appropriate.
Were you doing it for the web, or for some other
for that.
for web? What,
Yeah, probably I will show you later.
yeah, what I don't like for GLTF for web, that you have to load all these textures yourself, basically. Like instead of, I can just make one request and load the whole GLB package, instead of making one request, loading JSON, and then loading all of those textures yourself. Or letting GLTF handle this loading of the texture, which it does, but it does it synchronously, and then your progress bar getting screwed up, essentially. Or you like scene load without a texture and then texture start popping up. Like, I don't like that. I like where like, okay, I'm starting loading, I finish, everything is done, or like I have more control for that stuff. An easy kind of subdivide. Yeah, you can show the, maybe move to Houdini stuff.
Yeah. How do you want to do that? Do you want to show Houdini first?
Yeah, I guess maybe a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
We just want to show basically how this girl was made with that wires, and that will kind of was like a little intro to Houdini and showing that pipeline of custom attributes and geometry that allows you
Is
to
there
drive
time? How much time?
custom effects.
Does it matter?
15.
Yeah. Is it?
You have current time.
That's right. But I mean, how long was the stream already?
Oh,
It doesn't matter.
how long? Yeah.
Because yeah, this will be the full.
Wait a moment.
Maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
An hour and a half.
Oh. Okay.
But we have so much time while we
Setting up.
setting up. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I guess we'll show a little bit like intro
Yeah,
to the
maybe
game.
15.
Your part was around 40 minutes.
Okay.
Do you guys know what Houdini is? Has anyone ever opened it or heard or something?
I opened it once and then closed it immediately.
Great. I mean, that's right.
It's expected.
That's expected. I kind of discovered Houdini when I was in Moscow and I tried to find like this visual effects job, and every studio I go, they would like ask me, do you know Houdini? And I was like, what? I don't even know what it is. And I knew 3D Max at that point, and then I found like a small studio of 3 people, and I was like, hey, I want to learn Houdini, and I started like watching tutorials by myself, every tutorial I can find, and it wasn't many back then. And then we started working and kind of learning Houdini with the few guys in that studio, and nothing was done. Every project had like stale, deadline, and there was this one guy called Sanya, and he was doing 3ds Max and After Effects, and he would like build every project like, really fast. Like we would be sitting on the mods trying like for 1 month in Houdini trying to like do procedural building, simulate like Kremlin like falling apart or something. And then it's like, guys, we need to like finish the project. It's like Sanya. Sanya's like and Sanya refused to learn Houdini. He was like, guys, Houdini like needs that. But we were like really excited about Houdini. And yeah, and after that I realized it's actually kind of changed my life in a way, Houdini, because I didn't do any programming back then. I was purely artist, just doing 3D graphics. And Houdini taught me like a different way of thinking about, first of all, 3D, but also kind of like a visual programming environment. Introduced me into that mindset, and I started looking into more development. When I moved to San Francisco, it was a great environment because there's a lot of developers, and Houdini kind of helped me to getting started and start writing code and doing more like that kind of stuff. I just want to show you like a few basic things that Houdini can do, and like just introduce the concept that the following part that Sneha will talk to you or will make like a little more sense. So Houdini is it's just a node-based environment. You can call it visual programming environment. So you basically, and everything you create in Houdini is procedural. And what I mean by procedural, you actually don't create a geometry, you create a procedure or a script, if you like, that describe how to create that geometry. And this is very powerful because, you know, if you know from programming, right, if you've done something in Photoshop, you can't just go back and like change something, or you need to erase unless you know, like, you know, have a bunch of layers or something. But if you've done something in the script, you have full script and you can change it. So, for example, I can make like plane grid. So this is just a 3D grid, and everything made of points in Houdini, and you can see these points, you can visualize them. They have all like numbers. So that's a first revelation that all the other software hiding from you. It's like, oh, great. They're from points, and the points and numbers. It's like it's so hard for some reason other software because they basically hide it from you. So and then you can do like create another node called, let's say, mounting. All it does, it applies noise to those point position. So and you end up something like that. But now I realize that my plane, maybe I just my plane is not dense enough, right? Like I want more details, so I can obviously. Well, change the size and change the amount of rows and columns. So I change the thing here. Well, that's very like basic. So, and get something like this. Maybe these two freaking. Like something like that, and maybe it's just displays smoothly, that it looks better light shaded. Like this. So I get this grid, and let's say I want to maybe like. Another thing is also very hard. You need to install plugins for that. Most other software called scattering. Think Cinema 4D has it by default. So you can take some geometry and you can scatter points. So all of that, again, it's just collection of points that scatter in that geometry, right? So, and this is also pretty cool because now this point scatter, I'm starting to create like this little system where I can like now move geometry as points moves, right? So. Moreover, I can take I can have an object, like say this peak hat. So this is just 3D object, right? I can load it from disk. I can like model something else, maybe a tree or something. In this case, it would be peak hat. And
can I scatter pink heads?
Yeah.
Oh no.
I can copy this peak hat to this point. Oh yeah. Well, the peak is a little bit big, so I create a transform node, right? And I can scale it a little bit right here. Well, now it's a little boring. I kind of want to randomize the rotation maybe in scale. I can do attribute. Randomize.
There's a lot of tools and nodes.
It's a lot, and that's why it can be intimidating. So this is kind of like,
More diverse.
wait, this is
More diverse.
so this is important concept. This panel show you it's called attribute spreadsheet or geometry spreadsheet. It all like showing you this data. For example, I start with this plane, and it has a point number, right? And this is the position of that point. So you can see absolutely almost like all the data that is there. There is points, there's vertices, there's primitives, and there's like just global detail attribute. So then I do mountains, nothing changed except the y position, right? You can see it here. And then when you do scatter, it's a different set of points with new positions. And when I create attribute randomize, by default, it creates attribute named CD, which stands for color in Houdini, kind of like just a convention. And now you can see that every point now has a CD, which is a random value that this node generates. And you can see those values per point. So there's nothing hidden from you. It's like all data is there. You have position and you have a color. And when you scatter, the copy point node will understand that, oh, I have a color attribute, also by convention, just because it's convenient. You can do any attribute and you can do anything with those attributes in the future. But CD is just a convention. So we don't want CD, maybe we want another attribute called orient. And orient is a quaternion. Basically it has 4 values. So I change it to 4, which basically will create a 4 value vector with a quaternion for each point, which represent its orientation in space. So, and you can manipulate the attributes. This node is just a convenient way to create it. I can write code, as Neha will show you, or a little snippet with like a point wrangler node. So I can generate those attributes procedurally or with code like, at this stage. So this is extremely powerful. Besides that, I can also randomize scale, and by convention, Houdini use p-scale attribute, which basically just the value, and I can specify a min and max for that. And of course, I can also see it here. I have orient and I have p-scale, and I can examine those values if I need to. So I'll get something like this, and maybe I can adjust this a little bit larger. So, and as you can see now, I created like the whole system already, where I can go back, I can like modify my height of the thing, and even more. Maybe like I don't like this grid anymore, and I want to have a 3D object. Maybe.
How about pigs on a pig?
No, how about another one? What's the other one?
Pig.
Test geometry. No, rubber toy is another one. That's a good one. Okay. So I can take that, just plug it in right here, and I'll get pigs on the rubber toy.
Yeah.
Randomized.
Scale the
Scale the rubber toy.
Yeah, or decrease in size.
Yeah, I can drop transform, scale it. It should give me dark patches. Some.
Oh.
I can preview rubber toy as well as this thing. Right, I mean, yeah, it's a silly example, but you can make something actually pretty cool. I'll show you one of the things up in here. Procedural.
I'm sorry, but your rubber toy has a pig tumor.
How about I show you this the CD that we just showed what's the name?
Time to time.
Yeah. 1 second though. It's back. It's really hard to see. Project. TTF assets. Cage. Environment. I think it's
No, you're discarding your. Not gonna save the artwork.
no.
Should be the biggest file.
It's sort of my biggest one.
Maybe it is. It should be CD. It's not CD. Mm. And it counts as what? No, it's the biggest one.
Oh,
Mm. Yeah, that's that CD that you're talking about. It's basically what I just showed you is the same essentially approach, but much more like with some nuances. Let's see the file.
But how you get from this visual program and stuff to the video? Like when you're adding blocks, like transform, etc., you can make a video, right? Or
You can render a video out of here, yes.
yeah.
But we export 3D geometry to browser, and then we have in an A-frame or 3JS.
But you can make it framed here, so you will.
Yeah, there's a render view tab.
Yeah, right here,
Yeah.
and you can hit render, and it will render geometry as an image.
Oh, it's an image.
Let's see what it will render here.
Browser I can find, just an image.
It doesn't render anything.
No,
I don't have
it's
camera
stored.
set up. Let's see.
Yeah.
We got a camera.
And when you're creating animation, you're just this whole visual program stuff. It's referring to the one scene that you're making, or it could be different scenes.
Sorry, can you repeat?
You see here, these whole blocks, they're referring to the city.
Yeah.
And so in one file, you need to work on the one scene, for example, like city, animation of spider, etc., etc.
Not necessarily. I can do it in one file as well. It just depends how you organize your workflow. I just want to show you the script for this one. It's just kind of really hard to see. It's here. Synchronized. And those buildings I also generated procedurally. They look like that.
Yeah.
They just kind of some noise. I add this tower somewhere. Where's the tower? It's called power line. Power line, yeah. So I made this tower for some other thing. And then I was just doing something and something happened and it got deformed, basically. And I ended up with that kind of structures. So this, I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Maybe I can create CD out of this. So it would be better if it's black. You can create color. Yeah, looks like that. And basically, if I took this geometry and I projected it on the plane based on some noise. So some points got projected down, and some remained where they were, and then distorted geometry in this way. So yeah, original one looked like that. And this is also a little procedure tower. So the network looks like this, but you can collapse it into what's called a digital asset. And basically this is a function, essentially. You can think of code that expose parameters it has certain input as parameters and it has certain output as the geometry. So I can change things.
Dancing tower.
Dancing though.
It doesn't have whole lot of parameters, but so it's, for some reason this is not the script for the season. But anyway, this is not the point. I just want to show you that there's geometry, there's points, there's attributes, and you have a whole bunch of operators that you can act on those points, and you have very low level access. And right now Sneh will show you how she used that, and she knows Houdini only for like 6 months, I believe. And I just showed her like basic interface, and she only know one node in Houdini, which allows her to write code. And basically the code in Houdini code, it's a language called Dex, and it's a built-in language in Houdini, kind of like a shader language, but with a lot of higher level functions, such as
It's like everything you ever wanted to do in a shader, but you couldn't do it. You can do
like
it
nearest
in Dex.
neighbor.
Like,
You can find nearest
It's awesome.
neighbor, or like you can easily create geometry, or you can even have an access to a previous geometry in what's called simulation context. So therefore you can create system that evolving, and like it's based on the simulation essentially. You can write like simulation solver, and like Houdini has some built-in things like that, and it's really powerful for like smoke simulation and fire. Yeah.
Maintenance day.
okay. Let's see. It's so small. Wait. Oh, it's cooking.
Can you collapse this top panel? Just space.
Yeah, so this is the final thing that you like saw on that Dream Demon web thing, and it was created in Houdini. So I'll just kind of show how I created it. But basically, it's a simulation where I grow these lines from the center of this girl's body, and it like kind of comes out of the holes that I also created procedurally. So I'll go through the nodes a little bit just so you can see the process. But yeah, Houdini is crazy. So basically I start with this model, and I wanted the holes to kind of appear where there's curvature in the body, and Houdini has a cool node that just like calculates the curvature and will store it as an attribute on each point.
Can you
of
visualize that?
I can, yeah. I think if I made a visualize node here, so it's kind of dark, but you can see that like the blue areas are
Can you
the
click on one of those?
yeah. So the blue areas are areas of higher curvature, and the red are more flat. And this is like super cool for driving different effects. So I just did something where I calculate the curvature, and where's the most important thing is this create whole group. So in this point wrangler, I go through all of the points in this body, and if the curvature, which is this dval, if it's less than 0.04, then I put this in a group called whole. So super simple, but this little block of code runs like a shader on every single point, and at the end you get like these, basically these cutouts. Yeah. Which
Dval is embedded in Houdini.
No, so in curvature in the node you can set. I just called it dval.
As I said,
For no reason, actually.
Again,
this doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, if you expand,
It doesn't mean curvature. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I think at some point, I think it might have been something else before.
See, it's just an attribute here.
Yeah.
That's all it is on points, and then all you're doing is just removing based on that attributes.
Yeah, and then there's some nodes here that I just skipped, which basically delete this just deletes all objects or all points that are in a certain group.
There's some cleanup stuff.
And some cleanup, but those aren't really that important. But so then at that point I have this where is it? So I have a mesh that has holes in it. And I want to start the simulation like inside of the body, so I create two like growth spots basically, which are just these little spheres. So I want my simulation to start from these holes. So I turn it into a volume, I scatter some points in it.
Wait.
What?
This is actually also pretty cool. You can just one node, you can turn the geometry into
turn it
a
into
volume.
a volume.
And you can, instead of scattering on the surface, now you can scatter inside of the volume.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And you can even apply noise to that volume. And volume is basically, you can think about as three-dimensional image. Like instead of having 2D plane of pixel, you have third dimension. So you have like a volume of pixels, which called voxels.
Voxels.
Yeah, okay.
And they have values and that you can also visualize and examine. You can store any values on that three-dimensional grid, essentially, which is also very powerful.
So yeah, now that I have these like starting points, I want all of my lines to like start from these points. So I iterate over the points again in this like little point wrangler, and just it's called add. Ooh, don't do that. It's called add primitive. So I'm basically creating a primitive at each point and adding a vertex to it, like a starting vertex. And then I initialize some parameters for my simulation. So I want each point to have like an initial direction. So I set an attribute on each primitive called direction, and it's just random values.
I just want to clarify that there is no for loop here because that thing has a for loop already. So it iterates.
It's iterating over all primitives.
Over each primitive.
And also then in the geometry spreadsheet again, you can see that every primitive has this vector called direction. And it also has a vector called cur pos, which is the current position, which are going to be helpful for when I do the simulation. So Houdini has this node called solver, which if you go into it, it basically has a couple value or input nodes, which the first one is the previous frame, and the second one is like your initial input, and you can have extra input values. So for me, this input 2 is going to be the, it's cooking again.
Set it on the first frame.
Gosh.
Set it on the first frame.
Set it on the,
Timeline.
so the second input is the body that I created. And I'm basically going to use that as like a collision geometry. So here is like my huge block of code that that creates the simulation. It's kind of very small, so it's hard to see exactly what it's saying, but basically every frame I get the previous frame as an input, and I take the current position and I like basically create a new point at a new direction. So the direction right now is just using curl noise again, and I modify my direction that I saved from the previous frame. And if the new direction, if it like intersects with the body, then I basically don't allow the line to continue growing. So I only allow lines to continue growing if they're going to like go through some holes, basically. So if prim intersect is less than 0, that means it didn't intersect with anything. Then I add a new point to my primitive, which is just like a line right now. So I add a new point to the line, and then I update the current position value, and I update the new direction, basically.
But the new, I think new position determined on the curl noise.
The new, well, the new direction is determined by curl noise. So it's like, if you see here, direction is 0.4 times this noise plus 0.6 times the old direction. So it kind of like lerps, it smoothly moves to like the new
And
noise.
this is what's great about Vex, the what I saw. You have functions such as nearest point, give you a nearest point in the radius, and you can use that, or a function like a curl noise, and 5 other functions related to noise. There's Berlin noise, there's Worley noise, there's other, like, all kinds of noises. And you can just use them and mix and match, just to get some, like, interesting results and experiment. Versus in a shader world, you can find a file, of course, where very smart implemented all these noises, and you can include it in your project and you try to experiment, but they're not as powerful as the noises as like here.
And this code is executed every frame, at every frame.
At every frame, yeah.
Yeah, and the frame is controlled down here. But it's
also
basically, it's
for every
executed
point.
every
Every
frame
point.
for every
point
for
and
every
Every frame,
primitive.
yeah. But
Every
it's
primitive, not every.
Oh.
every primitive, yes.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fast.
Mhm.
I can tell you, because Houdini does a lot of stuff. First of all, this language it's very close to C, and second, I think they do parallel multi-threaded cooking. for
This
that.
code is computed at CPU.
CPU, yes.
Mhm.
I think it's possible to write OpenCL kernels now too,
Oh, yeah.
or if you want on some intense stuff. But that will be more painful.
So it's executed in this text.
But this is how it's running. It's like almost
Yeah.
real time.
Yeah.
That's all the stuff you see.
So yeah, you can see like a couple of lines stopped at the bottom, and the others now are basically just doing like curl noise.
So the lines are expanding from the sphere volume,
From the
not
sphere.
from the body itself.
No, it's
Yeah.
using the body as
Yeah,
like
yeah.
collision.
Yeah, it's collision
Okay. Collision.
object.
Can you show the body that you can see that it's actually colliding, like as a template? Yeah. Okay. Can you switch to shaded mode again? Inside. No.
Shaded?
Not here. The little light bulbs on the side panel.
Oh.
Yeah. Now you save a wireframe. Double.
It's wireframe because it's templated.
Hmm.
I don't think you can.
You can show wires as wireframe.
Yeah, I guess. Let's see.
Yeah, great.
Mhm.
Yeah, see, it's actually respecting the geometry.
Yeah, the boundaries.
Yeah, there's some other part of that simulation that tries to get it to like stick to the body if it's close to it, which.
Yeah, it just goes around.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's another thing you can. I have like one parameter that's here, which is like changing the offset value on the noise. So if I wait, let's reset this. If I change this to like 100,
And that basically takes the noise, the main, and then just shifts the noise.
we get like a.
Some
You're
direction.
gonna get like a completely different shape. So this one is like not as interesting.
But basically you could use a volume of the body itself, not the volume of the spheres.
Yeah, if you wanted to generate from like every single point, yeah.
So here's the
then you
starting
can-
location
Mhm.
for your drawing.
Oh, yay. I like it when it comes out of the back. Yeah, but basically by changing the noise, like where the noise is starting from, you can get like completely different effects,
Mhm.
which I like and I think is like a huge benefit of procedural things. Like you can just get these really different looking outputs. Yeah. Yeah, and the rest is just some cleanup stuff. Oh, an important one is calculating this distance attribute. So just like on those lines that I was showing from Dying to Find, like I said, there's an attribute that goes from 0 to 1 on each line. That helped me create that effect. Here, in order to have the growing effect, I kind of need a similar thing that has some attribute telling me like how far along is this point on the line, basically. So this piece of code calculates that attribute by just iterating through all the points on a primitive, calculating the distance between that point and the last point, and then setting that distance as this dist attribute on each point. And
Which will be exported to Three.js, right?
yeah, so I can, if I export this dist attribute, I can use it to drive that like growing effect. So it looks like if I clip the vertex position using this dist attribute, then I can simulate the.
And this is very powerful,
growth.
and actually, the Three.js default GLTF loader didn't support custom attributes. And we were like, what the fuck? Like, we want to export custom attributes. And then we modified, we did a pull request to support that, and they accepted it. And now we can export our any attributes from Houdini per point. So it's pretty powerful, allows you to drive all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so the rest of that node is like, you can now, since all I created were lines, but there's a node here called sweep, which like applies like any profile you want to your lines. So now there's like this kind of tube shape on the lines. Yeah, and that was how those lines were created, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe you can show the shader that drives that effect
Sure.
with the dist attribute.
Yeah. So this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like the kind of taking the girl out of this project, and we just put her in like a separate one so it's easier to see. But yeah, this is like in Three.js now, the same geometry that was created in Houdini, and now I can, if I put a custom shader on it, wait, how do I have to move it? Oh no. So now I can put a custom shader on this geometry that makes it look like it's growing. So I have this that vdist parameter that you saw in the geometry is now exported here as an attribute. And yeah, in order to have it in the fragment shader, you have to save it as a varying, so I just pass it over. And now if vdist is greater than my growth parameter, then I can discard it. And discarding it just will clip it on the fragment shader. But I guess I need to have a growth variable because this is not set. So I can just set growth, let's see, make that t instead. Just to have, I think the time value is different. So now it's growing, but it's not growing all the way because dist, I think dist goes from 0, however long that the longest wire is. So I'm guessing that's 5 meters or something. But let's see. Oops.
You can probably also pre-calculate that for each wire, if you have different lengths for each wire, and you can use that.
So now it's longer, but still not long enough, which is weird. Well, now it's really slow, or too fast.
Fast. Cool.
And we can make it slower.
I'm sorry, what's the Discord name? It's
Discard this is in the fragment shader, and if you type discard, it will just discard the pixel.
oh.
So it doesn't draw it.
Kind of return undefined
Yeah.
for the pixel.
Yeah. Yeah, so it just doesn't draw it, which is handy for this growing situation.
Why it start growing again?
Because
Pointer is reset.
I use fract,
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
so it goes from 0 to 1, 0 to 1,
Yeah.
over and over again. But
So the way-
in this project, it was that growth or this t value is based on your scroll position. So here it's just we don't have that scroll set up, so just to showcase it's easier.
So the
Yeah.
main function is not a loop.
It's just body. Okay, I get it.
My function's a loop.
Is a loop? It's a loop.
Yeah.
Well, shader, yeah, executed for each pixel, like in the loop, like time based.
But it's not growing based on this loop, it's growing based on this correct function.
Right. Yeah, because basically the growing was done in Houdini, and then I can replicate this growing by saving that dist value as an attribute, and then using that to discard
You
things.
can see actually also visualizing Houdini this dist. Right here, if you look. So on that geometry, that thing. So you have a whole bunch of points, right?
Yeah. Sections.
Yeah, you have this dist. Where's it?
So it's the attribute of GLTF.
Where's dist? It's not here.
It's on points,
It's on points. I don't see
or
it.
maybe it's not. Before group delete. Maybe I broke something.
What do you calculate it here? What do you calculate dist?
Above, calculate this.
Oh, it's pretty.
Oh, I think I deleted some line of code.
Yeah, it's on
No, I deleted the line.
You should be able to visualize it.
No, I deleted the line, I think, while I was showing it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
It's fine, I get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you can visualize it here too, right? If you just output dist as the color.
Yeah. So in here, instead of discarding it, we can just set this color value to be this.
Right, X, Y, and Z. With dist.
Yeah, for color.
There,
No, you need to say X, Y, and Z component.
Why?
because every time vertical is the same.
Yeah.
What?
V gist is X gist and Z
Yeah.
gist.
X, Y, and Z.
What are you saying?
Vertical,
No.
They're all
horizontal.
the same.
It's the same.
No, it's
Float.
all different.
It's a float.
Yeah, so it's the same.
Yeah, I'm just setting it to be gray. Like
Ah, yeah.
if it would be from black to gray, but here, sorry, black to white. But you can see it like in the center. The center it's black, and then the outside. So if you want to actually show it, you have to like multiply by 0.1 or something.
Maybe the sinus of what is
Yeah,
Yeah, we see now.
yeah. So now,
Can be also used to ambient occlusion, kind of like shadow inside, light on
Mhm.
outside.
Yeah.
yeah, I also had some like vertex animation based on that VDIS value as well, which I commented out now, but you can like,
But that's for another time.
but that's for another time. I think this is enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
If you have any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you see Houdini nodes converted to code, or is it a black box?
Houdini nodes convert to code? No, because nodes are just it's a static declarative file. You can see the file structure, yes, but it's useless because you see just
It's
node
not file.
layout.
It's like binary file.
Yeah, but some nodes you can see and kind of know. There are some built-in nodes, for example, like delete. If you that actually has something to say. Wait, maybe this group. Yeah, group C. I double click. I cannot go inside. But some of the nodes you can actually go inside and see how they implement it. So that delete node is written in C++. You can see what it does. Scatter also written in C++. But for example, let's see some of the nodes, like one of those maybe. Like I don't know, like for example that node. That node curve branches, it branches and curves.
Oh.
You can go inside and you can
Yeah,
see how it was set up. based on more fundamental primitive nodes or some DEX code. So also, if you like Sneha and you write in a lot of DEX, you also can see most of that code. But yeah, it's part compile, you cannot see, which is annoying sometimes. But yeah, what can you do? Cool. Should I disconnect?
Yeah, okay.
Nice, thanks.
Thanks a lot.
By the way, this program Houdini is very expensive.
I think the indie version of that costs $280 per year, which you can do anything you want. I have a cracked version, and you can also install free version, which is indie version, which also you can do almost anything you want, including exporting some geometry. It's just you can't render images, which we don't even do for that purposes. So yeah.
Render, you mean like JPEGs and stuff?
Yeah. I had a problem with Houdini when I was doing some like workshops where some people cannot install it on their laptops. For example, laptop like this, it might not work because the laptop doesn't have a graphic card that is supported.
Well, I installed right now, but I have an issue with the license. Maybe.
You installed Houdini?
Houdini, yeah, okay.
Did you try apprentice license? There was two issues. Sometimes it just crashed, and the second issue was on Mac, where people say, I want a free license apprentice, and they just click, and it just gives them this window again. It basically doesn't work, which is freaking stupid.
But it's an open source software anyway.
Houdini?
Yes.
No.
No, it's not.
But you said about pull request, you did pull request to the node, not to
No, I did pull request to GLTF3JS.
It's inspired.
I hope you open Houdini on 3JS once.
Bye.
And not close it.
And not close.
Okay, interesting. So the other request is to install it.
No,
I inspired the show.
That's not Napoleon.
Inspired.
The Houdini thing is Windows only, right?
Yeah, no, it's for Linux.
Linux and Mac too.
So it's native. Yeah.
And Houdini is it's pretty powerful. It's basically like operating system on itself. So you can do so many things. And what I showed today is just like 0.1% of things that you can do.
Okay. I think we can have a break, like 5, 10, 15 minutes. And later Алексей will continue with his talk.
Cool.
Ребят, закончили, минут 10-15 перерыв и сможете рассказать.
Проверить.
Time to remove your Linux Mint.
Леша расскажет, что вы смотрели, что знали, что покажет, то, что еще не показывал, но лучше у него расскажет.
Whoa.
Он будет заниматься этой графикой презентации.
Sorry.
Я
Многие занимаются.
Ну, вот Саша с Андреем пробовали экспериментировать, но, наверное, вот Леша с Ней и Кирилл больше всех опытные в графике.
Ты тоже шаришь в шейдерах и всем таком?
Ну да.
О,
Ваня, насколько я
Ну, ты
знаю, тоже
сможешь,
пробовал
что тебе нужно?
писать шейдеры, и у него прикольно сложные вещи получались.
Окей.
Не примитивно.
Возможно,
Тут все
комп,
компьютеры,
если кто-нибудь
что-то кроме нас троих ребят, кто сегодня на вас.
он просто включается.
You have a lot more
А, ты синтезировал?
here.
A lot more what?
Yeah.
Demos.
Окей.
We have some, yeah.
This is Gabor.
Да, я не
So maybe we can share a link somewhere.
Yeah. I can post on the
Если вы хотите
maybe link to GitHub
No.
also.
Okay.
То нужно иметь возможность.
Yeah, I never know like
Что делать?
how much detail to go
Балюрить?
What?
I never know like how
У
much
тебя есть
detail
информация,
is
которая...
important.
Uh,
But I guess it's helpful
But for the
when
audience, like,
when they have questions.
Yeah,
Okay,
people
just
just how to say it.
Drive.
Yeah, they drive
Drive.
the
Yeah, I like that.
Да, можно не стримить, можно... Сейчас это немного.
Yeah, it's fun to present to people who like know what's going on.
Как много...
Because I think a lot
Как
of
много
times
слайдов
when
там.
we show
Это
stuff,
потому что
like,
это
people who
это было...
maybe don't, have never written a shader
Я
before
сам
or
недавно
something,
ничего
so
не
they don't
показывал.
I'm glad that you're in
It's
the
more
right
fun,
place.
yeah.
Yes, when people understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
Это будет...
Especially Sasha and Andrei are
Да, это
into it.
будет...
Yeah.
I like that you
Это будет быстрый слайдинг по Google Фото с остановками.
Yeah, I was doing lots of
нужных
shady
местах.
stuff,
Окей,
but
и
now I'm
ты не
just,
знаешь,
I feel
какие
like I've
фотки,
gotten
ну,
into
то есть
this
заранее
world of
сложно
video,
понять, какие фотки являются.
which now it feels like the more,
Ну,
what
это
I'm
просто
more
самая
interested in
помойка, и
is,
там есть друзья,
making
знакомые,
weird
Да, 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 я понял тебя.
сохраненные
I want to
на
try. So
картинки.
Houdini
Да, я
is
понял.
Самая жизнь просто.
Такое.
you run
Ладно,
Houdini
с
in
бесплатно картинками, но
WS.
Быстро скинуть, быстро выбрать фотки тоже будет сложно.
он видит
Я прекрасно
No, no,
понимаю проблему.
Я не за этим
So-
3 года.
Snake.
should he tattoo?
I thought you did today because it's like 2 days
2 days
Same.
later.
We just on this trip.
Actually,
Oh,
it's
so
a
you are
great
repeating them every day? Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Actually, my friend has this tattoo. Put 2 dots here, tattoo.
Я бы, если бы делал,
It looks
наверное,
cool.
я бы
I used to do it.
в OBS Studio
Я думаю,
нажать
Стас может.
кнопки дюрил.
А нет, он больше не будет.
Ну, да.
Можно
Либо можно забить.
Можно бросить курить.
Да, я тоже забыл.
Коля курит айкос.
Забить на это.
Она пошла курить айкос, если хочешь айкос.
I'm not ready to see.
Можно